right, this is If My People Bible reading, and it is part 55. The last after this will be a review, preparing you for Exodus. I think you will enjoy the little overlays and the PDFs that I've put together for you. It kind of gives you a good outlay of the entire Bible study on where to see where we're going and what we're talking about. So we're at chapter 50, and Joseph basically throws himself upon his father and weeps over him and kisses him because Yaakov is Israel is about to die, and the promise is the promise kept. So this Genesis ends in wonderful aspect of uh, our faith walk, and our faith is increasing, and our walk is the works that we prove that what we are told and what we hear and what we obey is all good. All works out to good because this is how Joseph says it in verse 19. He says, "But Joseph said to them, 'Don't be afraid. Am I in the place of Elohim?'" He's talking to, once again, all his brothers who are afraid of him. They're thinking that this whole background that we've studied about this family lineage here is distrust, and including Laban and all Esau, all of them, Ishmael, all of them, you can't trust. And Joseph is trying to calm them down, and Joseph is the one that got the bad end of the stick. I guess you could say that. And so as a result of that, here's what he says. "But Joseph said to them, 'Don't be afraid. Am I in the place of Elohim? You intended to harm me. You kill me. But Elohim intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives.'" So did they kill him? No. Did they intend to get rid of him? Yes. And did they think that he would probably be killed? And did they think that he had been killed or died and perished as a result of their behavior many years before that? The answer is absolutely. And so they're thinking what goes around comes around, because Joseph is a man of his word, but once his father dies, look out. So he says, "So then don't be afraid. I will provide for you and your children." And he assured them and spoke kindly to them. Now, if we had been living in the time of Yeshua, because the people there on the day, 2 days before, and the day before of his being taken in and crucified, he came into Jerusalem twice, once on a donkey and a coat, and once on a donkey. And by the way, that he came in one day on a donkey and a coat, and one day on a donkey. Okay, what you've been told and what you hear in institutionalized churches is totally wrong. They did not mistake in the Bible. They didn't. One guy left out a colt. No, he didn't. There is no mistake in the word. And how the leaders of Christianity feed this nonsense and manure to the sheep, and the sheep for the most part just suck it in, and yeah, they believe it, and they don't question it. Oh yeah, it's a mistake, and then they say, "Well, my preacher says, or my minister says this." Well, your minister doesn't know, and I don't know either unless you check me out. And I'm telling you, I've checked it out hundreds of times, and what they say is wrong. So if 1,000 ministers and 100,000 pastors and 15,000 priests say that I'm wrong versus one, and I'm by myself, feeling sorry for myself like Elijah. Elijah felt awful sorry for himself when in fact Yahweh looks at him and says, "Hey, I got thousands of people out there, thousands of prophets just like you, ready to go. So shut up. Shut up. You don't have a leg to stand on. I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father but by me." So, Elijah got his learning lesson there. But I'm saying this: I will stand up against thousands of those who have been teaching lies. And why? Because once they tell a lie, they don't want to back down from it. It's one thing I've found is, once a pastor or minister creates a book or writes a DVD and puts it out there and sells 4,000, 5,000 copies, and realizes he's made a horrible mistake, does he go back and correct it? The great majority, no. They just stay on it. They stay on the lie just like the common world does out there. And they're wearing a collar. Yeah, right. So then Joseph said to his brothers, I am about to die. Now he's getting old. This is years later, but Elohim will surely come to your aid and take you out of this land to the land he promised to the oath of Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov, Jacob, Israel, his dad. And so everybody went and got buried except Joseph, and Joseph had to wait 400 some odd years, or actually 200 and some odd years, because it was Abraham's 430 years. Now we're in the Joseph's. So it's not as long, but still like 200 some odd years before the Exodus. So Joseph died at an age of 110. And after they embalmed him, he was placed in a coffin in Egypt. Now, is embalming something you're supposed to do? No, it's an Egyptian pagan practice. To embalm him, they took tubes and shoved him up his nose and sucked his brain out dry and put it in a jar. Yeah, I don't think that's in the Bible for specificity. This just tells you this is the way these Western people did things. Then they opened his chest up with a Y incision, took down, opened it up, broke out the ribs, took out the heart, took out the lungs, took out the innards, and put them in separate jars, and put lids on them and sealed them and locked them away and filled his body full of all kinds of things. Now, I used to work in a laboratory for many years. And I know when people are embalmed, many people think, well, when you're embalmed, they just take a look at you, took some fluids, and then they put you all back together and they bury you, and you're buried completely and whole. Not true. When I saw that, a piece of the brain was taken out. Any sections, like if you have eye cancer, they may take a look at that or something like that. Otherwise, they take a Y incision. They take certain parts of your body organs out, and all those other organs they put back in, right? Wrong. They put them in. They put them down to garbage disposal. You go in the local sewer. That's where you go. Just kind of let you know. So, because I've heard so many people say, Bruce, what about what about cremation? Is that demon? Because I heard pagans did that. Yeah, the pagans did do that. They did all kinds of things. They ate you. They cooked you. They split you into 4 or 5 pieces and sent you all over creation to show off what they did to you. They put you in a boat, lit you on fire, and shoved you out to sea. But that doesn't make cremation evil. And because if you're talking about taking care of a body, for Pete's sakes, after you go through an autopsy, the only thing that's buried in that coffin that you paid thousands and thousands of dollars for in your 8, 9, 10, 15, $20,000 funeral was a carcass that's been emptied out. Like hunting a deer, you don't drag the whole 180-pound deer into your house through the woods for a mile and a half through the woods. You take that deer and you hang it up on a tree and you slice it open and you take out all the stuff that you're not going to eat, and that's a whole bunch of that deer. And you leave it rot in the forest, and then you drag in the carcass and put it in the back of your truck, and you make sure you hang the antlers over the top of the truck. Then you go to I'm just making fun here, you go to a local cafe and you let everybody look at the deer hanging out. Hey, did you get that deer? The Father wants your soul. He's here for your soul. He's here to save your soul. He's not here to save your body. Your body will be resurrected and supernaturalized, and none of the earthly parts are going to be in the final heaven. So, in other words, don't make a big deal of it. I just remember years ago studying about the nuclear explosion in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and how many innocent Japanese people were there when the bomb came down and it exploded, 1,000 feet above the earth, and to get the greatest impact of killing people. And it incinerated instantly people so bad and so quick that the only thing left on the sidewalk was the shadow of a child sitting on the stoop by a door. All they could see is the shadow, like a photo effect, because the entire body had been turned into nothingness. And that innocent body is going to be in heaven one day. resurrected by the dust that's flying through the air, put back with the soul in a supernatural way. That's what I'm telling you. And all those bodies that were incinerated and cremated on the Appian Way of the taverns, the tree taverns, all the way to Rome, so that Caesars could have parties and they can use live Christians lit on fire with creosote thrown all over them and use them as torches, and they were burned to death. Could you imagine that you go to hell because Caesar burned your body up? Things like that. These are tough questions I get, and I'm answering you like this, looking right at the camera saying, that is a fact. So worrying about the small things of life has nothing to do with it. It's your soul that we worry about, we think about. So the book of Genesis is full of examples of sin and death. Making choices. It opens with Yahweh Elohim, the man in the Garden of Eden with Eve, who were to live forever, and ends in a coffin in Egypt. This book accounts for the sins of man and the result. At the same time, it shows in detail the love, faithfulness, compassion, long-suffering, mercy, grace that Yahweh provides to the human family. Grace and suffering and mercy, it begins right there in the Garden of Eden. We've told you that over and over again. So the book of Exodus is a book of history and laws. It is written by Moses around 1450 to 1410 BC, and it was written to record the events of Israel's deliverance from slavery to Egypt. In Egypt, it lists the laws that God has given to the Israelites in order to guide them in the relationship with him. Chapters 1 through 7 of Exodus. Moses and Israelites in bondage in Egypt. Chapters 7 through 13. Moses, through the power of Yahweh, releases 10 plagues on the land of Egypt, which included turning all the water into blood, the plagues, the insects, the boils, the hail. Finally, the death of every firstborn. That included the death of Pharaoh's eldest and also those of his household and the animals. Chapters 14 to 18 describes the exodus from Egypt. Pharaoh's heart, although hardened, can no longer endure the plagues that Yahweh poured on Egypt and himself. Chapters 19 to 24, Moses presents all the laws to the people on Mount Sinai, located in modern-day Saudi Arabia, Mount of El Jabaz. Look that up, Mount of the Laws. Chapters 25 to 40, Moses gives the Israelites the tabernacle, the priest, and the worship instructions, and all the added-in laws that goes with it. So those added-in laws were never meant to be. We'll be going through that in Exodus as we go through up to chapters 14, 15, then up to 24, 25. And Moses, by the way, shocker here, Moses doesn't go up the mountain twice. He goes up 10 times. 10 times. Was Moses meant to go up the mountain 10 times? No. He was meant to go up, and he was meant to get the law, the 10 commandments, in which all law falls under those 10, plus the greatest, the golden. Love your Lord, your Yahweh with all your life, your soul, your mercy, everything you got, you put it into him. And care for one another. Love one another like you love yourself. You don't need another 611 laws. But he brought down 611 laws, and the ones that were written by Yeshua were destroyed. And the ones that came down the second time, Moses wrote them. And then the ones that came down another time, and another time, and another time, Moses kept going up and bringing down these added-in laws, which the 10 Commandments on the stones went inside the tabernacle, the ark of the covenant, and inside of a tabernacle. That's where he kept them. That's all Yahweh ever asked for. He never asked for a building or nothing fancy. And where are all those other laws that were constantly unable to follow Torah? No one could do it. No one on earth except one, Yeshua. They were added to and on the side of the Ark of the Covenant to testify against all of them, to show them how foolish they are. So when we open up again, we're going to begin with a slide series, and then we'll get into Exodus next in part 56 and 57. See you then. It's a pleasure spending time with you. I'll leave my email address if you have any questions.